Today we are joined by College Game Day's longtime rock star Desmond Howard, one of only 4 humans to ever win the Heisman Trophy and Super Bowl MVP. No one's done it since him. Our producers found that. We're also rolling with the heart of We Are Penn State, Christian Hackenberg, and our man from the South, Mr. Pig Suey.
There you go.
Clint
Get it out of
Stoerner.
there. Get it out, George. Come on.
Mr. Clint Stoerner, voice of the Dallas Cowboys. What's up, fellas?
Shoot, George, I'm doing good, man.
Des, welcome to the dojo, sir. Welcome in here. Welcome on in here.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Field of 12, powered by Bet Rivers. You can find us on Sirius XM app, and we'll get you all the necessary information on the merch and everything else. Field of 12 or Field of 68
shop.
Field of 68 shop to get all the different merch. Man, let's jump right into it because we got a couple precious moments with Desmond Howard. Des, man, first, thank you so much for joining us. And Clint, this is Clint Stoerner's night. Clint is the point guard. We have a rotation on this team, and Clint allowed me to rotate over to his night to kind of run through this. So, Clint, this is your night, sir. I appreciate it. Let's jump right to the Heisman.
Well, hang on a second, George. It ain't going to come cheap now. It ain't going to come cheap. I'm going to give you my Venmo and my Cash App and all that stuff when we get done, but we'll get that figured out, Des. So, hey, good to have you, brother.
Good to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to pass all costs and expenses straight on over there to Desmond Howard. So send it right on too, sir. Send it on. Fellas, right out of the gate, we're going to get into it with Des, go over the slate, do some game picks at the end of the show, much more. And again, Field of 12 After Dark, just joining us. We're going to go right into the Heisman discussion. Des, you've been covering this season, all off season, all preseason. All of a sudden, it feels like it's a 2-horse race with Hendon Hooker and CJ Stroud. Is that the facts from where you see it?
I guess my question would be, how do you judge your Heisman candidates? Like, how do you judge the people who you put in the race? That would be my question. And I would actually like to hear, your answers before I give you my impression on it. Now, case in point, any of you guys in the fraternity?
No, I was not.
No? Okay. No. Well, like the Heisman is like a fraternity, right? We call it a fraternity. We have like the Heisman house, supposed to be like a fraternity house, right?
Yeah.
So that whole fraternity concept is when you're a member of a fraternity, you take things a little bit more serious than other people when it comes to welcoming in a new member, if that makes sense. So maybe you guys aren't in fraternities, but I'm sure you know people who are, or women who are in sororities, and they don't take lightly who they invite into their sorority or their fraternity. So I say that to preface my opinion on the people who should even be mentioned as Heisman candidates. I don't like the fact that a person has a good game against an inferior opponent and everybody's blown away by these ridiculously inflated numbers, and all of a sudden this person should be a Heisman candidate. Slow down. Pump your brakes. Why don't you let me know if this person should be a candidate for the best at his position before you make him the best in the whole sport? Mm-hmm. Is he your Davey O'Brien Award winner?
Right.
Is he your Doak Walker Award winner? Like, is he the best in his position before you say he's the best all over, all around? Does that make any sense to you guys?
100%.
So when y'all throwing out these names, I'm like, well, what has he done? Right. Because Vegas said he's the odds-on favorite, or because of this or because of that. But what have you seen this season up to this point where you would really say, yeah, you know what? He's the best in all of college football. I hope that gives some context to how I look at this. Now, with that being said, let me know who you guys think should be the candidates and why.
Hack.
Well, you bring up a great point, and I kind of look at it that way as well. I think when you look at historically, you know, C.J. Stroud, it's kind of plug and play in that system that's proven that way with the quarterbacks that have come through before
what has
him.
he done this season that has blown you away?
Well, I thought he's played phenomenal. I thought he's put up a bunch of yards. Obviously, he hasn't had that Heisman moment yet.
Against two.
He hasn't had that Heisman moment
against
yet.
two.
He hasn't had it yet. He played Notre Dame
against two.
Different team now, different game now. My point being is,
you haven't told me anybody that you were impressed.
Listen, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I thought that he's done what he's done.
Got a lot of time.
You have to put his name up there, right? You have to put his name up there, okay? And then moving into that.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Okay.
You don't have to put anybody's name up there except Bryce Young because he's the returning winner. To me, that's how I look at it.
Well, that's fair enough. That's a good point. I think Hendon Hooker's done it. He beat Alabama. He beat Bryce Young. I think Blake Corum has done a great job this year. And I think Chase Brown at Illinois, who's actually top 3 guys in all-purpose yards, depending on how you look at it. I think the last 3 guys are probably the MVPs of their football team. If you take them off the football team, I don't think any of those programs are in the sphere or conversation of where they are right now. If I'm going to make that argument, so to me, I think it's early yet. To your point, Des, a lot of these guys haven't played their best games yet in terms of competition, where they're going to be Heisman defining moments. You're not going to see that yet, but to me, that's the group that shakes out in my eyes.
Clint.
Look, according to those restrictions right there, it's a 2-horse race. I mean, you got Hendon Hooker, who has the best resume in college football in 2022. His team's undefeated. He's got a monster win, and he clearly carries that football team on his back. Number 1, and then Bryce Young, if last year's recipient is automatically in the mix because he's already in the fraternity, then it's a 2-horse race. There ain't nobody else in America right now that has the resume along with the moment this year that is in the conversation. If we're not talking about guys like C.J. Stroud, guys like Caleb Williams, guys like Blake Corum, if you just take the numbers off the table, I think it's a 2-horse race at this point in time.
Well, then, in my opinion, it does go back to 3, and he may be lacking a Heisman moment, but it is C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, Ohio.
But you keep talking Heisman moment. Other guy talk Heisman. I'm not even talking about Heisman moment. Yeah. I'm just talking about competition that you respect well enough that his numbers will blow you away. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not even saying Heisman moment.
That's fair.
Just saying.
You're saying that's not criteria.
I look at 2 things. I always look at this, and I'm consistent with this. What did you do? And more importantly, who did you do it against? Yeah, that's my general rule of thumb right there.
So for the case for C.J. Stroud, and again, you can't help what the other team becomes after you play him. Out of the gate, they played the number 5 team, Notre Dame. He lost easily, I think, the best receiver in college football. He lost first quarter, second quarter. That changes the game plan. And Des, you know how that is. If you don't have your fastball, you got to find a way to win. That was the closest game Ohio State has had. They top 3 in the nation in scoring. He's been consistent. And if you look at quarterbacks, in my opinion, there's 3 that sit at the same table. One's at Bama, and he's got a crown. He's got a belt already. The other one sitting next to him is Stroud, and the other one sitting next to him is Caleb Williams. And combined, they have 2 losses. 2 losses amongst them. And then for C.J. Stroud, Ohio State.
I would prefer this conversation to not be so focused on C.J. Stroud. Yeah. I really would, because it's easy for people to listen and say, oh, he's just hating on C.J. because he went to Michigan. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the case at all. I can say the same thing about Caleb Williams. You know what I'm saying? I can say the same thing about, but it's just so happened that CJ was the guy who you guys talked about. Well, so that's why I mentioned him. I can say the same thing about other people who they just want to throw into the conversation just because they have a big game.
Desmond, let me throw this in there too. That was kind of what I was trying to get at Ohio State. Is I think you could throw Kyle McCord in if CJ Stroud wasn't there and Kyle McCord was playing. I think the system, the environment is gonna produce numbers and production that is going to warrant Heisman conversation.
You think Kyle McCord could drive the Buckeyes into the playoffs from this moment on?
I think so.
Listen, they've
done it over and over again. My point being is that's where I was.
Moment on. He said for what he did up to this point.
So what?
Oh, correct. So McCord played.
Right, that's what he's saying.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
What I'm saying is I think, and we talked about this before we got on, before you got in here, Desmond. I think CJ Stroud is the only one who's in the conversation nationally and on this call right now and on this pod right now that is replaceable. I think anybody else that we've mentioned, if you put in the guy that's sitting behind them right now, or you take that player off that roster, I don't think that team is relevant to the level that they are relevant right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I got you. It makes sense. And the thing about guys like Bryce Young, in my earlier comment, is I just believe that as the reigning or returning Heisman Trophy winner, that if there's anybody who should maybe have a head start on the competition, it should be that guy. Like he should be, just because he's kind of earned it. He's returning. And what I saw from him in
Tennessee game
a week was phenomenal, was magical, man. He was surgical. Like Clint,
Clint, speak on what you said. Share with Des your thoughts on that Tennessee-Alabama game with both quarterbacks, because we talk so much about what we learned from both. Would you just share with Des your takeaway from that heavyweight battle?
It's the best college football game I've ever seen in terms of a quarterback on each side of the football playing a complete ball game. And I'm not talking about big post throws over the top or 50-50 balls to the sideline or go routes or scrambling around, being an elite athlete and making more plays. I'm talking about dudes from the pocket making high degree of difficulty throws over and over and over again for 4 quarters. It was the best college football game I've ever personally seen from that perspective.
I agree with you 1,000%. I've been doing this since 2005. I don't think I've ever felt compelled to go back to my room after a game and get on social media and try to express what I just saw on the gridiron. And I did that night. It's still on Instagram right now. I don't think I've ever felt, compelled to do that, but I was so impressed. Like you said, man, you hit it on the head. Those 2 quarterbacks played that position at a very, very high level for 4 quarters. And see, now to me, that's when you start talking Heisman. You don't watch a guy beat up on some inferior opponent and he throws, for X amount of yards, X amount of touchdowns, and now you're going to say he must be the best player in college football. I just don't think that warrants that type of praise being put on that type of on that person because of that performance. But you and I, we're on the same page, man. That was a magnificent performance by Bryce Young and by Hendon Hooker. And that's why if I had to fill out my ballot today, those 2 guys would be at 1 and 2.
Do you think?
Hey, Des, I'm gonna tell you, I used to go to this spot in Dallas called the Candle Room, baby. Yeah. And when we talk about guys performing like that, I'm gonna tell you, Bryce was in the joint. Like you said, you call it a fraternity, it's the Candle Room in Dallas for me, baby. Bryce was in that joint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
Hendon Hooker, who was standing outside that red velvet rope next to that big old security guard tapping him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Hey, after that game in Knoxville, Des,
come on,
he came on in and he sat at that VIP table, that number 1 VIP table in the Candle Room, and had bottle service all night long. Yeah, that man right there was impressive, baby.
Who's with you?
That's what I'm talking about, and that's what you need to look for before you ever start talking about a person need to join the Heisman fraternity. That's all I'm saying. We're on the same page.
Respect. I learned that Bryce Young might be the most fierce general in college football. I think you could split some of those high adjectives and accolades, like I said, amongst those three quarterbacks. But it reminded me of last year, and Clint, we talked about this, 290-yard drives against Auburn when he had all them receivers out, and they know you got to throw it, and it's been a rock fight all night. And then you come back again, first time playing in 2-3 weeks off of a wing, your throwing arm, you sprained it, couldn't even tell. He had no mistakes, no excuses, battling, scrapping. He didn't throw the ball away. I'll find out. Just ride with me. Cape flowing in the background. Yeah, we learned a ton. On CJ Stroud, I think his moments are coming. They got Michigan.
But listen.
They got Michigan.
I just wish that you just wouldn't keep mentioning his name, because it seems like if you say
it's boxing you in. Yeah.
Against it. Yeah, and no,
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Let's just talk about those who have earned it. How about that? How about we do that?
How about we talk about a non-quarterback that the three quarterbacks on here feel is most likely to be sitting in New York, which is also kin to you and Blake Corum. The three of us feel like that's the best non-quarterback in America. But what does America need to know, Des, in your opinion, about Blake Corum?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I became very impressed with Blake. I think it was the Maryland game. Now, Blake has had a great season, right? But we even made the same comment on game day that, I think Hershey said, when we're going to welcome Michigan to college football because their schedule was so weak. I ain't say a word because their schedule was weak. And he was putting up numbers, right? Then he got to the Maryland game. And Maryland's a good team, not a great team, but Maryland's a good team that's on the rise. But what impressed me about Blake in that game was that Donovan Edwards, his counterpart, was out. His light, they call him lightning and lightning. So his running mate, the guys who come in and give him a spell, they split time like Hassan Haskins did a year ago. Donovan Edwards was out with an injury. So Donovan's not playing. So Blake is running the ball. He's doing a fantastic job. But he gets winded. He needs a blow. He taps out. They put another running back in the game. He fumbles the ball. This is a tight game. This isn't a runaway victory for Michigan at this point. This is a very tight game. So they put this other kid in there. He fumbles the ball. He doesn't see the field again. Blake comes in there again. Blake's keeping them in the game. Like anybody who watched that game will understand that Blake Corum put Michigan on his shoulders in that game. Every time they needed a big play, he came up with a huge run. They put another running back in the game. He couldn't hit the hole. He didn't see the field no more. At that point, it was obvious to everyone who watched that game, Blake was going to have to carry the load and that they were going to have to ride him to victory because not like JJ was out there just slinging the ball all over the yard. So you understood they had to run the ball and Blake was going to be the workhorse. And he had one of those monster games when they needed him the most. The defense knew he was going to get the ball and they still didn't stop him. That was just to me, one of those impressive performances by a running back. And you just don't see those, all that often.
What's the last, and this is to anybody, what's the last championship caliber team led by a running back outside of the Alabama teams? And I'm not just talking ground game, but really in today's football that was led by a running back because he's clearing away. Just like Hack said, this is probably America's MVP. But who was the last unit to make it this far? Did they have to
win the championship?
No, but they made a serious charge. You talking about
SC
Melvin
with
Gordon?
Reggie? Like
gotta
SC
be
with
Reggie.
Yeah, it's SC with Reggie, right?
But was Reggie part of a talented cast, or did he lead it solo? Reggie's situation didn't look like Blake Corum's.
I don't think that SC team's the same without Reggie.
No,
offensively.
But remember, if Reggie Bush stepped up, you had Lindale White in the backfield as well, and you probably had 6 other 5-stars behind him, and you still got Matt Leinart. You look at Michigan, who else is our defense is looking at Hack on the scouting report?
Oh, no.
The first 5 pages got to be Blake Corum.
Right. Well, I mean, that kind of went to my point, like with the Heisman with him. I think you take him off the team, it's a different team, right? I think you have to force JJ to grow up fast.
Yeah, true.
I think, like Desmond
That's
said,
true.
like he puts himself in situations. He kind of took over that, like Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, like not only just leader on the field, but also I think leader in the locker room. And he is truly, to me, like Michigan's MVP. And he's playing really well. What they did to Penn State this past weekend was really impressive. Yeah. And I think that Harbaugh kind of went to like the throwback, right? Everyone's trying to go into the whole, like, let's spread it out. Let's play sexy, fast, get the ball out of here. Like, they built this team where they got a guy back there at quarterback who can operate, who can throw it all over the place. But at the end of the day, their foundation is, if we can turn around and hand the ball off for 3.5 yards every play, we're going to do it the entire damn game and wear your ass out up front. And to me, that's impressive. And I got kind of a soft spot for old school football from that manner. So that's why I really like the way that they're doing it right now. And I love the way Blake Corum's been toting. And I think he's really special too from a skill set. Like, he really patient, kind of Le'Veon Bell-ish, but I think he's got a little more juice inside of like a 5-yard box, really hard to tackle. He's got a cool little blend to his game. I really like him.
Hey, Clint and Des, and then you, Hack. Is there any other premier program, top 5, 6, 7, that is more dependent on a singular player like Michigan is with Corum?
Yeah, I mean, I think Alabama is dependent on Bryce Young too. I mean, if we're talking about winning a championship, I'm trying to think who's all up there. You look at, I think Tennessee is dependent on Hendon Hooker. You can't tell me that they're not. I would say that's the extent of it. Looking down this list right now, SC obviously they're not a top 10. They're sitting at 11 right now. Caleb Williams obviously drives that ship, and I think it's a different ball club. But I tell you what I'll do real quick, George, is I'll give you, ask about a running back dominant team that wasn't quite national championship, but Darren McFadden's days back in Fayetteville. I might give my Razorbacks a little something, Des, if you know what I mean.
He had
but that team right there.
He did.
Yeah, who was his counterpart?
DMC.
Say it again.
Wasn't it DMC? Didn't he have a counterpart?
Right. Yeah, it's Felix Jones and Peyton Hillis, but they didn't have a quarterback one. Yeah. They didn't have a QB one, Coach. But nonetheless, here's what I want to know from you, Des, is because I think there's several, when you look at the top teams in America, I think there's several things that jump out. And one of them you already hit on, and George knows I'm glad you already hit on that, which is Ohio State's essentially the schedule that they've ran. But number two, we talked a little bit about Michigan, but I think the part about that team being a national championship contender, Blake's great, don't get me wrong, but they're only going to go as far as J.J. McCarthy can take them, boss. That's it. Yeah. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback at Michigan right now.
I think he has crazy potential, but I think that he hasn't even scraped the surface yet. And because they have Blake and they have Donovan, they've been able to control the line of scrimmage, then they haven't been forced to use all of his skill sets. And he has a lot of skill sets as far as throwing the ball. He's very athletic, they have a lot of confidence in him because during last year's run, when McNamara was a starter, don't forget, like, games would be still hanging in the balance. And they would put JJ in the game. Like,
valuable experience.
Oh, yeah. He didn't just do mop-up duty. Like, he got in games when games were far from being determined. So that shows you what type of confidence that they have in him and his abilities. I don't think they've had to show a lot as far as what he can do in the passing game. And I kind of wish that they would, because I do think they have some really good receivers that they need to utilize a lot more. But, we watched the Penn State game, and I guess if it ain't broke, then why fix it, right? So if you gash them with the run, why are you going to get away from that? And but I would like to see more, but I agree with you 100%. They're not going to go as far as deep as, some people may think that they should go until they have to put the game on JJ's shoulders, and he has to really go out there and show that he can be the team with his arm.
What is it with the Michigan skilled players? Since Harbaugh's there, the defense it's never really left premier status. You've had different quarterbacks come in, but he's been able to get the most out of whoever was the quarterback. And the backfield's always been strong. On the perimeter, where is your 6-foot burner with all kind of separation, or your big guys who can, like Clint said, go play the 50-50 game?
Yeah.
Has the running game been such a big trump card that they've just kind of not really gone to develop that, or is it recruiting?
Yeah, I think they have the talent there. I just think they haven't had to utilize it because of their style of play. I also think that I put it to you like this, guys. Early in the season, at the beginning, before the season began, a lot of talk was who's going to start at quarterback for Michigan. That was all the talk, right? You would hear that every day on all these sports talk shows. Is it going to be Cade McNamara? Is it going to be JJ? Then we got into the season, and then Harbaugh said, "You know what? I'm gonna let one quarterback start this game. Then I'm gonna let the other back start the second game, right?" And then people all up in arms about that. My whole issue at that point wasn't with the quarterback; it was with the offensive coordinator. I always said I would much rather know who's going to be the offensive coordinator than who's going to be the quarterback. Because don't forget, they lost Josh Gaddis to Miami.
Yep.
And at that point, it's like, okay, who's going to call the plays? And that's been my major concern. That was my major concern coming to the game. And then during the Maryland game, where it seemed like they didn't have any continuity, they couldn't get in any sort of rhythm, that's when people started saying, well, damn, what's up with the play calling? You know what I mean? And it became an issue at that point because it's like a play caller duties. You know what I mean? He doesn't have like one play call like he had last year with Josh Gaddis. So I think that's the thing that was an issue early. It seems like, maybe they got together in the Penn State game, but maybe they just controlled the line of scrimmage so well that they didn't really they didn't force the issue where you really had to see how deep they can go into the playbook and who's really calling the plays. So that's one thing that if I were you guys, I'd keep an eye on, like the play calling, because I just think that, Josh Gaddis was a hell of a play caller a year ago. I do think they do have the receivers early in the season. If you really remember when JJ took over as a starter, he missed several guys down the field who had at least a step and a half on a defender, and he didn't hit them. And I remember that. I remember probably about 4 of them. And Andrell Anthony, number 1, is a guy who I believe has a lot of potential. He can get behind the defense, but they haven't been able to get the ball to him vertically since those couple of throws early in the season. And it seems like they don't even go vertical anymore. They just, rely on that running game, and they rely on the tight ends. Now with Eric All out, they rely on just the other tight end.
Right, which is hard living. If you ain't stretching people, Clint, Hack, same thing. If you ain't stretching these safeties who are already creeping down in the box thinking Corum, and now you could sit flat-footed on all this east-west action, and very little is going past you. I just think it's hard living, but they've been able to make a living in a hard living situation.
The problem, the problem, like Harbaugh's between a rock and a hard place. He's in one of the toughest spots in college football right now, because do you keep turning around? Whoever's calling the plays, it's fine with me. Do you keep turning that thing around and handing it to Blake Corum, knowing that when you get to the college football playoffs, that ain't gonna cut it?
Right.
You can probably get there protecting JJ McCarthy and handing the rock to Blake Corum and whoever his backups are and whoever the Robin to his Batman is. You can get there, but somewhere in Harbaugh's head, he's got to be thinking, "Damn, I've read this book before." I got there and I got absolutely, just stalled. Stopped in my tracks. So he's between a rock and a hard place of, do you take the risk to see what the young fella can do and grow him up a little bit, which is going to, if he does, then you got a better chance of winning a championship. If he doesn't, now all bets are off.
Stay close to the vest, protect us right now so we can get there. But them front sevens waiting on him no matter what other 3 teams get there with Michigan. And yes, we have already kind of put Michigan in the playoff. no matter what, those front sevens are going to be vicious. Des, we want to learn a few things about game day and your experience, but just top of mind, because I've been doing this with Hack and I've been doing this with Clint. We want to get your thoughts on this. And I know this, you guys have been carrying this at game day. In your opinion, for an ACC, Big 12, or Pac-12 champ to get into the dance, first question is, do they have to come in undefeated?
I'm going to tell you this. I don't work well with those type of hypotheticals just because there's so many other different moving parts that play a factor in that decision or that outcome. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, what's going to happen in this conference is going to happen in that conference. No one thought that a group of 5 team would make it, but finally we got Cincinnati in there a year ago. Everything fell in place. Everything fell in line for them to be the team that finally broke through for the group of 5. So what has to happen? I couldn't fathom, what could not happen. I would think that they would have to be undefeated. I would think so. But you're talking about 3 different conferences. So you saying, does each team from that conference need to be undefeated to get in? Because I don't think, listen, you got 4 spots. Even if you got 2 SEC schools in,
and maybe you got 2 Big 10.
And one 2. Big 10. Go ahead. Maybe I'm sorry. 2. Go ahead. Huh?
I was going to say maybe 2. I asked the question.
I don't think you're going to get 2 Big 10 schools in. I don't think you're going to get 2 Big 10 schools in.
So you're saying if Ohio State and Michigan, they remain the top 5.
That's the whole hypothetical thing, right?
But wait, they're already in the top 5. If they stay in the top 5 the whole season, unblemished, they come up against each other. It's a field goals game or an overtime game. Can you really say the loser is that much worse off than a UCLA team that might sneak out of the Pac-12? They escaped a little bit, or a TCU team that escaped a little bit. There's an argument for the Big 10, just like it is for the SEC runner-up, only because the SEC has 3 teams in the top 6 that'll pretty much run there for the rest of the season. And the Big 10's got 2 that'll run there for the rest of the season. You're already there. So if I lose, I only lost to another top 5 team. You going to drop me out of the top 5? That's the question. What would it take for a TCU or a UCLA to overcome an extra innings battle in the 2 big conferences?
I just don't see the committee putting in 2 SEC schools and 2 Big 10 schools. I just think all hell will break loose. I just can't see it happening. Whether it's Michigan, Ohio State, they're top 5 throughout the whole year, I just don't see it happening, because then they're going to say, well, shit, one of them was this conference champ. But then you may have a UCLA as the conference champ, or a TCU as the conference champ. You know what I mean? So there's always these other arguments that come into play. Personally, I don't see a scenario where there's going to be 2 Big 10 schools and 2 SEC schools, and everybody's going to be fine with it. Like, if that happens, I think all hell will break loose, depending on what happens in the ACC. How about Clemson? Clemson's on the rise right now. Yep. Clemson may win the ACC. Ain't no way in hell nobody they're gonna leave Clemson out. They love Dabo Swinney and Clemson, the Tigers. They not so Clemson's gonna have a seat at the table. If they run the table, I don't give a damn what happened to Michigan, Ohio State. If Clemson runs the table, Clemson's in.
But if they run the table undefeated, if they drop one and win the
run the table undefeated. They're undefeated now. Correct, exactly.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That'd be Clint, Hack. Y'all got anything on that?
I think I do. I think you're one squad out of those 3 conferences. I agree with Dez. I don't think you go 2 SEC, 2 Big 10. I don't think that ever happens. That would be Utah. That would be a shitstorm if that happened, right? But the one school, guys, that I think has a legit shot here with 1 loss out of one of those 3 conferences is SC. SC West Coast. They run the table the rest of the way. They lost to Utah, who I know they've got 2 losses, but they're a hell of a football team.
But to Dez's point, though, if Clemson runs it, it doesn't matter.
No. Look, I'm just saying, if there's no spot for a 1-loss football team, shit, they ain't getting in. But at the end of the day, if there is a spot for a 1-loss football team, look out for USC. You can't tell me that Trojan on the side of the head doesn't mean something. You can't tell me being the only thing west of El Paso doesn't mean something. You can't tell me that Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, and that star power out there don't mean something. I'm telling you, SC is the one to me that could mess around and sneak in if the stars align the right way for a one-loss team to get in.
That's fascinating. Between the Hack and Clint's answers, it sounds like Clemson, outside of the Big Ten and the SEC, that's the next big brand. That's the one they're waiting on to go. And then we'll see how they drop it and then go from there. Man, Des, I appreciate you, man. You ran with us. I know you got an early morning production meeting tomorrow. Thanks for rolling with us, brother, on the field of 12.
No, man, I appreciate you guys having me. It was a good conversation. Like I said, I hope you guys understand my feelings towards Heisman. People just throwing people's name in the hat, until they do something significant against a significant team. I'm just not open to the conversation at that point. I just hey, like we said last week, we saw two warriors going at it, and that was real. Now I'm like, that's something to get excited about.
Yeah.
Hey, shit. Hey, Des, I liked you before. I love you now, baby. You come on here talking that right there. Come on, Des. Come on down, baby. Hey, I got to know this right here, though, Des. What in the hell? What is your day like? What was today like? You hold up in a hotel room. You got an early morning tomorrow. What happened today? What'd you get into today?
Oh man, so today was like probably one of the most exhausting travel days of my season, because I had to fly all the way from Miami all the way to to Portland, and then you still got a 2-hour drive from Portland to Eugene. So I mean, you just exhausted at that point. But still, you hit the ground running. I got tapes I'm trying to do that I'm trying to put together for Saturday's show. I got some calls I have to make, emails I still got to return, and then tomorrow, like George said, early production meeting. We got TV. We have what they call media availability. So we're like available to like the local media. And then we have college football live. And so it's, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's, and then after all that, you try to come back to your room, take a breath, regroup, and then prepare for a 3-hour live TV show that's going to start at 6 a.m. local. So that's a 4 a.m. wake up call.
Come on.
Hey, what's been your favorite college game day experience, campus wise, before you jump?
I just like when we go to places we haven't been before, and fortunately for us, we've been able to hit a lot of college campuses. And just like a couple of weeks ago, we went to Lawrence, Kansas, for Kansas football, not Kansas basketball, but Kansas football. And it was just it was a great turnout. It was a wonderful day. The people couldn't have been friendlier, and it's always good for me and for our whole team, because we love the fact that we can give a program and a community like a 3-hour infomercial that we feel as though they deserve.
Yeah,
man.
Which conference would you say is the live?
Bro, you gotta ask all night, bro. Come on now. I got. Hey, I don't want to cut it off for you, but you know what I'm saying.
You're right. Thought we could get that one. Desmond Howard. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Real talk. Thank you for making time for us.
Anytime, brother. You know,
on this prime.
Clint, having me.
Des, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Desmond Howard, field of 12 after dark. I did try to get my man to take one more step, but his eyes look like they was ready to close. He's been in an airport since 6 a.m. East Coast time. Fellas, it's time to go into our picks. Game previews. So let's go into our game previews here. We just got a chance to wrap with our man Desmond Howard. Fellas, we do got some heavyweight matchups this weekend. Mississippi State at Alabama. Syracuse is going to play Clemson. And then you still got K-State at TCU and Texas at Oklahoma State. These are the ranked games we got. This weekend. Let's start in the SEC. Hack, Mississippi State at Alabama. Can Mississippi State catch Bama, with their nose still bloodied, or do you expect the Roman army to come bouncing back?
Listen, I think that was a big wake-up call, and I think historically speaking, when you look back at Nick Saban, he doesn't get got twice, at least back-to-back. So I think that this team's going to come out a little bit more focused. One of the biggest issues for this Alabama team has been discipline, penalties, self-inflicted wounds. I think that defense has a lot to grow into this year. I think the Tennessee game was a perfect example. I think they have great players, but I think as a unit, they're not as sound as past defenses that they've had. First level, second level, and third level. They just it seems like there's a disconnect that usually isn't there. So I expect a lot of that to be hashed out. They got their wake-up call. I think Bryce Young's going to bring it, as we've talked about. That performance last week was almost like Brady against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. You throw for 500 yards and still lose. You don't know what to do. You did everything you could. So I expect them to come out and handle business.
Clint, are you in line with that? Roman army bounces back, or is this a good shot for the Pirate to go ahead and add another lump on there?
I think Mississippi State's got a legit shot to upset Alabama right here. I mean, I'm not betting. I'm betting on Alabama. Ultimately, I think for all the reasons that Hack said, I trust that Saban's going to right the ship and get these cats in order. But we're talking about Alabama that I still think offensively there's not just one guy that they can just depend on 100% in that pass game. They got a good crew, and they got a damn assassin at quarterback. And Jahmyr Gibbs is as good as there is in the country, but I think there's still some vulnerability there. The defense is not as good as everybody thought they were. Tennessee just shredded them boys last week. I mean, to the tune of 52 and a boatload of yards. I thought that was the biggest question going in, is we're going to find out who Alabama's defense is. And I truly believe that Tennessee had a great game, tipped the cap to them. But let's be honest, they got ran through now. Shit through a goose, baby. They got ran through. And when it's all said and done, I think that Mike Leach and the Will Rogers kid has a real chance to have a monster day against his defense. I'm telling you, the quarterback at Mississippi State, he ain't getting the love that he should be getting nationally.
That's fair.
Too much is going. Not too much. Let me rephrase that. Will Levis at Kentucky's a good player. Yep. Good player. But I'm going to tell you, in college football, that Will Rogers kid at Mississippi State right now is slinging the peel, son. He is special. So, and if they're going to be undisciplined, it's the most penalized team in college football right now. This isn't just Saban's going to clean this thing up, man. He'll be all right. They're the most penalized team in college football, bro. I mean, this could be a problem.
I agree with you. My thing is, I think penalties are. If you're looking at things like how can we clean shit up, I think you can clean up penalties. If I'm going to say, like, if I got to pick what I'm going to fix, what I can't fix, I think I can clean up penalties. I think you bring up a great point though. But the one thing I will say is, I think that's the first time in 133 games that Alabama's lost after scoring 49 or more points.
Wow.
I think that's the first time that they've lost basically since Nick Saban's been there, where if they've scored 49 points or more, they've lost that game. So to me, Will Rogers got to come in there and hang more than 49 on them at this point in time to win the game. I don't know if they got the juice that Tennessee does top to bottom. Now, I think Will's will give them a chance, but I don't know if they do it top to bottom like Tennessee does.
Or have the horses on the outside.
That's what I'm saying, top to bottom. Outside. I just don't think offensively they got the roster that Tennessee does to match up with them.
The interesting thing, though, this year, and I don't know statistically what exactly it looks like, but in watching, I watched Mississippi State versus A&M pretty closely. I watched Mississippi State versus Arkansas pretty closely. Mike Leach and most air raid coaches, they get real pass happy, put them in the gun. And teams like Alabama, Will Anderson can pin his ears back, and it's game over. It may be sexy for a half, but it's gonna be lights out before it's over with. He's a little bit more committed to using the running back. He's a little bit more committed to running the football than I think he may have been in the past. I think Mississippi State has got themselves in trouble in the past, thinking that they just got to go out there and throw it as many times as possible just to play, just to be in the game.
Right.
And I think Mike Leach, now he wasn't playing Alabama, but I think Mike Leach has shown the ability at this point in time to feature that running back a little bit more as well. So I think there's a couple of things that give Mississippi State a better chance this year than maybe they would have had in the past.
No doubt.
This is, to me, this is the biggest game in Bama's season so far. This is the biggest game. How do you respond? You know their vision is always towards the playoffs. They can play it a week at a time. Like each kid on that team will say, we're only playing a week at a time. But to play such an emotional game, followed by an emotional game against A&M without your general, and that went 12 rounds, and it came down to the last play of the game with A&M on the 5, and they responded to come right back against Tennessee, and then that was a heartbreaker. This is going to be the one. Can you get yourself off the mat and get your jab going and then get back in? They get this game, I think they find their footing and they get going, but it is going to be a hell of a test, because I know Mike Leach is going to try to look at a lot of what Tennessee's offense was able to do and able to attack and try to duplicate that. Another big one, Syracuse goes down to Clemson to test DJU and the Tigers. What's their realistic shot, Hackett, going down there and pulling this off?
I don't know, man. I think they got the Tucker kid. They got the difference maker, but I don't know if they got the difference makers outside right now. And to me, the strength of that Clemson defense is their front seven. I think the weakness is their back half. I don't know if Syracuse has the guys outside that are going to be able to exploit that matchup in a drastic enough fashion to get this done. And to me, Syracuse has kind of been getting away by the skin of their teeth. 2 of the bigger games they won at home this year. It's a team that just kind of is like, how are they in this game? And then all of a sudden you're sitting there like, they're going to win this football game. And they just do it like in a real sneaky, like not like dominant manner in any way, shape, or form. And they got to go out and do that, I think, to beat a team like Clemson. They got to play a complete football game, and my money's not on that happening.
Clint, DJU, he has been better, but that offense is still not fluid. Like, they're running the ball better and he's turning the ball over less, but it still feels like they're mortal on offense at times. Is this one of those teams with Dino Babers and as much pressure as they bring? Is this like one of the last knuckleball teams Clemson would have to see its way past to get where they want to get to?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. At the end of the day, this is a dangerous football team for Clemson, because while their ceiling is very, very high, I do believe that they're vulnerable. I said this earlier in the year, man. We watched that was Wake Forest game, and to think that Clemson with that defense would be locked in an overtime shootout with Wake Forest. And I know, look, no disrespect to Wake Forest, but I'm just telling you, I played at a school where we didn't have the same Jimmies and Joes as our opponent did most of the time. And that is an uphill battle. For Wake Forest to go in there and have an absolute shootout with Clemson
a day. I
mean, bro, that is quite frankly, with Clemson and the talent they have, it should not happen. And Hack, I know that you were adamant about like that slow mesh, and it was absolutely beautiful. I'm with you watching it.
Yeah.
The one thing that blows, I don't give a shit. Slow mesh.
Someone's got to make a damn difference making play. You got a dog out there. You got to make a difference making play.
Oh yeah, but Hack, you know this as well as anybody playing the position, being a pocket guy. Man, if a team gets pushed inside guard, center, guard, I don't give a shit what your scheme is, what schematically you're trying to do. It gives you fits. And Clemson wasn't able to do that. Clemson couldn't play man. Clemson couldn't sit back in zone. So with that said, Syracuse could be a real problem for Clemson. And I think Clemson is liable to let this be a 4-quarter ball game. And then I'm going to lean on my boy Schrader, who I said ain't learned a damn thing since we saw him helicopter at Mississippi State. He ain't changed a lick. He ain't changed a damn lick. but you let him have a shot in the fourth quarter, he's liable to make a play on that ass now. So Clemson's the kind of team that I just don't, for whatever reason, call it DJ.
You don't trust him.
I don't trust him. And I'll be honest with you. Heck, I've been a guy, I've always trusted Clemson. Not the biggest Dabo Swinney guy. Little bit of that. Never mind. I'll keep that to myself. Just not my kind, not my style. If I'm being completely honest, but I've always believed Deshaun Watson at Clemson, no problem. Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, they'll be fine, no problem. I even go back to them old Woody Dantzler days. We all know about that. Woody Dantzler doing his thing back in the day.
Taj Boyd.
Yeah, Taj Boyd. I mean, I just always believed in that product at Clemson, whether they were national championship caliber or not. I just believed in what they were doing and had faith in what they were doing. I do not have faith in this football team. Good football team, very high ceiling. I don't have faith that they're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and then they're going to raise their ceiling to the level of college football playoffs. I don't believe it.
Yeah, and your skepticism really, if I hear you right, rides on who the tip of the spear is, not the rest of the program, which really, that's what it's ultimately going to come down to.
So who's the tip of the spear?
DJU.
And to that point, though, what I want you guys to do, all you guys, I want you to Google first 7 games, second-year starter, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, all them. See what DJ's stats are statistically speaking. Now, again, I'm with you. Like, stats or whatever. Figures lie and liars figure. But statistically speaking, DJ is better than I think both of those guys through their first 7 games, their second year starting.
That's good to know.
Saw that today.
Interesting.
So to me, the tip of the spear has been playing well. What I think he doesn't benefit from is the supporting cast that those 2 previous aforementioned quarterbacks had. I don't think their supporting cast is as strong. And I think last year's got a bad cloud hanging over DJ's name right now in terms of public vision. And I'm a guy who's like, listen, man, you can't. Last year's last year, this year's this year. You gotta just see what you're seeing. And I think he's grown a lot. So we'll see. But I mean, I agree with you, Clint. I don't quite trust him. I think it's not necessarily DJ and a few other pieces. I think it's more so supporting cast and a couple of pieces on that defense.
We shall see if Clemson could hold off Syracuse again. ACC hopes are pinned on the Tigers on the rest of the ride out. That's the lone ranger they can bet on. In the Big 12, though, we got 2 big ones. Kansas State rolls into TCU, 17 coming in to play number 8. And Texas goes in to play Oklahoma State. Clint, we'll go with you. Which one of those 2 games are you more compelled to go watch?
Texas, Oklahoma State. I think TCU runs through Kansas. If Kansas had their guy,
Kansas State. TCU's got Kansas State.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said Kansas. You're right. Kansas State. It's still Texas, Oklahoma State. Look. I think there's one of the more interesting stories in the country is Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers, University of Texas. Are they back? Or are they legit? Could they potentially make a run at a Big 12 championship? And Oklahoma State coming off a disappointing loss, not a disappointing loss, but they're not undefeated anymore. So they got to rebound a little bit. Can Texas go win this one and keep their hopes alive, their dreams alive to potentially win a Big 12 championship this year? I think when you talk blue bloods in college football, Texas is one of them. And college football is better if Texas is playing good ball. And so I think that for me is always going to trump the TCU Kansas State game, really, for that matter, any other Big 12 ball game at this point in time, unless it was still Oklahoma State and TCU undefeated, 2 undefeateds going at it. Texas being back before they go into the Big 12, into the SEC, I think this is one of them games where Texas could take a huge step forward.
Hack, what's the definition of Texas being back? Like, do we need them to run the table from this point on? Because they've taken what? They have 2 losses, 3 losses. Like, what's their mark at one side of the number?
Texas has 2, right? They got 2 losses. Right?
Texas Tech and Bama.
Yep, and they got one. They got one in they got one in their conference. So to me, I think they got to win the conference, and obviously they got that in front of them. I think they got TCU coming down the pipe. They got Oklahoma State this week, so they have the ability to put themselves in position to win the conference, even with one loss. I think if they do that, to me, whatever your definition of back is, I just think they're headed in the right direction. I think Sark's and Trevor touched on this as well. I think the Texas issue's deeper than the football program. I think it bleeds into alumni, donors, athletic department, just a sense of entitlement because that logo is so big. And I think it's that kind of that strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. And now you need a strong man to bring that whole cycle back around, or a group of strong men. And to me, I think Sarkisian's kind of the right guy to do that. And I think Ewers has obviously been a piece that I've been very big on. So to me, I think them winning it right now this year, even with the hiccups, and then putting themselves in the right situation heading into that whole SEC transition in 2 years, I think is what.
Guys, one of the biggest statements in all of college football that can be made right now is if University of Texas wins the Big 12.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a year when A&M's down. You're talking about a year when Baylor's down and out. Really, the only player in all of the state of Texas right now is TCU, right? I mean, you're talking about an opportunity for Texas. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about an opportunity for Texas. Oh, and by the way, OU, who's just as prominent in the state of Texas from a recruiting perspective as anybody, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, this is one of the biggest statements in all of college football that can be made if Texas can go on and win the Big 12 title. Now, they're not going to get in the college football playoffs. We understand that. I don't know exactly what bowl game that puts them in, but what it does is it catapults Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns into a position where they can walk into any school in the state of Texas, being the blue blood that they are, already the most powerful program, the most powerful logo on the side of the helmet. They can walk in and now say, we're back. Yeah. We're winning. A&M who? Yeah, they recruited last year, but they went 8-4 and 21, and they're probably going to go 8-4, 7-5, maybe even 6-6 this year. So who's that, right? OU? Hell, the wheels done came off up there. Come on down to Austin. I'm telling you, one of the biggest statements is University of Texas winning the Big 12. Can they do it? I don't know. Are they up for it? I don't know, but it's still at their fingertips.
It would be, I mean, the timing can't get perfect. When you go north to Oklahoma hasn't been like this since the late 90s. You look over there, you go east to A&M. That's in disarray. If you can't strike now. All right, let's go and do a couple other games on the slate. If you guys can just give me a quick thought, let's just buzz through it. Ole Miss at LSU. Hack, where are you putting your money?
Listen, I think what LSU did last week, great. But Ole Miss is just Kiffin's got them playing really good right now, and I like where that team is at this point in time in the season.
Clint?
I trust Kiffin, man. Kiffin's winning different right now. I mean, he got a couple of big-time backs down there, and I think he's winning different with a good run game, with better defense than we're used to seeing from Ole Miss, and it's just a matter of time before he develops his quarterbacks and gets the quarterback at Ole Miss playing a little better ball and being a little bit more effective. And so I think usually we see Ole Miss doing what they're doing right now. You go, all right, they're playing at or above their ceiling, hell of a job. It's not good enough to win a national championship, but it's good enough to finish second in the West. Right now, they're rocking and rolling, winning a bunch of all games, and I think their ceiling's actually higher. They have some climbing to do if Kiffin can make it happen. I like Ole Miss in this ball game, but I will take the opportunity right now to eat the crow on LSU and Brian Kelly. I mean, they're a lot better at this point in time. They're still not as good as a lot of folks want to believe they are, but they're a lot further along and a lot better than I thought they would with Brian Kelly coaching this team at this point in time. I like Ole Miss in the ball game.
Quick one. Will Iowa's offense score this weekend at Ohio State?
Damn, dude. I don't know. I don't even know why this game's on here. I busted Dagan's balls about that. I don't know, man.
I'm gonna go with yeah. I'm gonna go with yeah. They'll put a couple points on the board.
Gee.
Wow. Wow. And Minnesota.
Yeah.
The whiteout.
Book it.
The whiteout. The Gophers come in for the whiteout. Hack, will your boys get back up on their feet?
2 programs down bad right now, but I think the whiteout edges this one. 2 programs that are down real bad. I don't think outside of Mo Ibrahim, I don't think Minnesota has difference makers right now. Tanner Morgan is not playing great football.
No, so 4 completions last week for 4 completions for Tanner Morgan. That's Tebow numbers. Clint, Penn State, Minnesota. Can Penn State stave them off? It's only a 1-loss team, and they only have that loss to the Buckeyes. Can they get back?
Yeah, I think the Fighting Hacks. I think they handle business this week, no question. I don't know what back means, but I think they can handle business. Yes, sir.
Oh, there you go. All right, so that's the upcoming slate. Now let's go into our game picks, fellas. Our producer Dagan Hughes hit us up with looks like the best 10 ball games for Saturday.
I believe it's
12, George. Field of 12. Come on, George.
There you go. The best 12 games.
Keep it on brand.
Was staying on brand, as he said, staying on brand. So, Dagan, you gonna take us through this? Or you want me to go with it?
No, you take us through.
Here we go. Syracuse at Clemson. Dagan, we'll start with you.
Oh, you're starting with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're starting with me. I'm not used to this. I'm usually used to going last. Give me Clemson. That's easy.
Hack.
I got Clemson.
Clint.
I'm rolling.
After all that talk, go ahead. Speak up, sir.
I'll roll Syracuse. I'll roll Copter himself. Let's ride. Dino, let's ride, baby.
I'm also riding with Dino. I'm going with Syracuse.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a shock down there. The Jayhawks take their Cinderella season down to Waco, Texas. Dagan Hughes, Kansas or Baylor?
I don't like this going first thing, but give me Baylor. I think it's the Cinderella's story is over in Kansas. Give me Baylor.
I mean, Hack.
I think Bean's been playing well, but I don't think well enough. I think Baylor's going to get back on track. I got the Bears.
Clint?
Baylor Bears, baby. Sick 'em.
It's a sweep. I also am rolling with the fighting Bears down there. Ole Miss at LSU. I'm excited to see this. Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly, to watch these two. I mean, these are two of the, I think, better ball coaches in America, and neither one of them have their situations kind of grooved in yet, but they're still winning. Dagan, going again with you. Baton Rouge, who you got?
Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss.
Hack?
Ole Miss in Death Valley.
Clint?
Hotty toddy in the valley, baby. I'm going with Miss Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
Unfortunately, all three of you guys went the wrong way. LSU at night. It don't matter what the circumstances are.
But George, here's the thing. It's at 3:30. It's not at night. Does that change it?
You know,
the
fourth quarter. Right. The lights will be on by the fourth quarter.
All right. Fair enough.
Now, Clint, you played there. It's vicious. It's a different type of folk up there in that stands. But also LSU is playing better, and they're getting a little bit more out of Jaden Daniels. Game day, West Coast, UCLA at Oregon. Big implications for the West Coast. Their hopes are now riding on UCLA. Dagan, you're going where?
Give me the Ducks. Hack, we talked before. You thought I was going UCLA. Give me the Ducks. I'm like what Bo Nix is doing up there. Oregon doesn't lose a lot of games at home, so I like the Ducks in this one.
Wow, Hack.
Yeah, I think Oregon, since the Georgia ass whipping, has just been slowly building. And I think the difference is going to be Dan Lanning in that defense this week, and I got the Ducks as well.
Mr. Stoerner.
Yeah, look, I'm riding UCLA, man. They still got everything right at their fingertips in terms of playing for ultimately what could be a college football playoff bid. I like DTR, man. I know we didn't get to it earlier, but dark horse Heisman. DTR is my dark horse Heisman. His team's undefeated. Chip Kelly's no chump when it comes to offensive play calling and offensive game plan creation. He's special. And the quarterback's throwing touchdowns and not turning the football over. So I think he could quietly ease through this thing and get in the conversation about maybe getting invited to New York. I like UCLA in this ball game to beat Oregon.
UCLA was questioned last year against LSU when LSU came to town. Do they have enough physicality and speed to get them? They got them. The biker gang comes in this season. Do they have enough physicality to go up against these guys? They got them. And we keep questioning UCLA at these pivotal intersections, and they keep getting through the intersection. I'm going with UCLA at Oregon. Somehow they find a way to get it done. And again, you're right, Clint, leadership at the quarterback position.
George, we all know this, right? I mean, at this point in time with Chip Kelly, I mean, Chip Kelly ain't gonna have a locker room full of punks. I mean, nope. Chip Kelly's gonna have some dudes. They may not look as good as everybody else. They may not play. They may not be as athletic. They may not be as big. But he's gonna have a bunch of dudes that are cut from the same cloth that will bow their neck and do the little things right. Or he's not gonna have them in the locker. The damn sure not gonna be on the field. And so, look, I just think this is a different West Coast football team when Chip Kelly's calling the shots. I love it.
I agree. And he's prepared. He's creative. And if any coach in America, and we always see this stuff about, look what they're not saying about us. Look how little they do think about us. Look how much they do question us. They can actually sing that song in Westwood. I honestly don't think they are, though. It just feels like they're just kind of going about their business. They'll meet whoever, wherever, and get it done. I am going with UCLA. Big one now in the Big 12. Big one. And Clint, you just went over it. Longhorns, Pokes, Dagan, we'll go with you. Texas at Oklahoma State. Where are you going?
Well, I've been high on Oklahoma State all year. Can't bail on the guys now. Played in a close one against TCU. Give me Oklahoma State.
Hack.
Similar things. I've been high on Oklahoma State all year, but I think their chances are officially down the pipe in terms of making a college football playoff. So now I'm going to go to the person who I've been in their corner prior to this year in Quinn Ewers, and I got Texas winning this game.
Clint.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me because I've been on Oklahoma State all year long, and I'm going to buck Dagan a little bit here. I mean, I'm bouncing. I'm getting off the Oklahoma State.
Unbelievable, Clint.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm just being honest. I can't put a straight face on and lie to you, my man. I'm being honest. Look, I mean, they got players. I saw today where one of their big defensive linemen, he decided to bow out and prepare for the draft.
Wow.
With one loss on the team, still got a Big 12 championship to play for. Yeah, man, big dude. I'm out. I'm gonna go prepare for the draft. I don't know how you guys were when y'all played, but like for whatever reason, when I looked up and we had, we were 4-0 or 3-0 or 8-0 at one point when we went down to Tennessee, like that O gave you a little something extra to play for. Oklahoma State not having that, a little hungover from getting beat by TCU, players opting out. I'm going with them Longhorns, man. I think they let some shit slip against Texas Tech, but they got a lot to play for right now. And if Steve Sarkisian can't get them boys ready for this right here and they can't go out there and play a similar brand of ball like they played against Alabama, then shame on his ass. I like Texas in this ball game.
I'm going Oklahoma State. At home, they can score in bunches. That defense will get exotic on you. And yes, you're right. They are out of the Big 12 running. So what's the next best prize to go get? A set of horns. I think Oklahoma State gets them at home. We got some more here. Memphis at Tulane. Dagan.
Give me Tulane. I really don't have a reason for this. I can't say I've watched a lot of these two teams, but I was in New Orleans this past year for the Final Four. Great city. So give me Green Wave.
Green Wave, baby.
The ranked Green Wave. Let's make like
Green Wave.
Dagan showing love to New Orleans. Hack, you're going where?
Green Wave. They're hot. They're hot. Matt Forte, former teammate of mine.
Clint.
Memphis.
And I second that. Memphis. I'm also going Memphis.
Any reasons why? We just like Memphis.
Because it's Memphis.
Yep. Same.
Is it at Memphis?
It's at Tulane.
It's down there in NOLA, baby.
Yeah, he ain't got a chance. Now you're at Memphis now. Hey, maybe. But.
Nah, so this is going to be one of the more entertaining games, I think, in the Big Ten tomorrow. Purdue, who has really been making some noise, a couple nice road wins at a Wisconsin team that feels like they found their footing since they've changed leadership up there. Purdue at Wisconsin. Dagan.
If finding their footing is losing to Michigan State Thorne, then sure they found their footing. Give me Purdue. Aiden O'Connell, much better than Peyton Thorne. Heck, I know you're all in on that. So
I'm all in on the.
So let's go Boilermakers.
Because here's the thing, I as much as I hope that Illinois wins the Big Ten West just for Trevor's sake, insanity, I think Purdue is going to figure out a way how to just like pull something out of their ass. Someone's going to lose, and Purdue is just going to play their way into a chance to win the West.
Hey man, look here. If Illinois wins that division, Tricky's gonna come on this son bitch. He's gonna have them neons and a sex doll back on the shelf back there. He's gonna have all kind of shit right. He's gonna have a stripper pole back there, Chief.
And what's that gold glass Lil John used to sip out of?
Chalice.
A chalice.
Like a goblet.
He's gonna come in with everything.
Goblet.
Hey,
Clint,
neon stripper poles and sex dolls, Tricky Trev. Let's ride, baby. I'm going Purdue, man. I'm gonna go Purdue in this. I'm gonna let Hack. I'm gonna give Hack one more shot to watch this kid play, and I'm gonna try to come over to Hack's side on his way of thinking on this fella.
I'm also going Purdue on that one. Aiden O'Connell. This just feels like a great big game for him. Put up an easy 450. Down the South, we already touched on this game, and we really didn't get specific about where we thought it was going to go. Dagan will go with you. Mississippi State at Alabama.
I'm no fool. Give me Alabama. And I've thought about taking them with the points. They're getting 20, or they're giving 21 to Mississippi State right now. So
oh wow!
Maybe this could be a big old win for Alabama down there.
Hack, any potential for a shock here?
I don't think so. I see what Clint explained earlier in the show, but I don't think so.
Clint?
Yeah, no, look, I'm riding Alabama right here. The one game that scares me is the Mississippi State LSU game. They gave up 31 points to LSU. LSU was able to hold them to 16, and I know LSU got some dudes now, but I don't think they're on the same level as what Alabama can do. So you give up 31 to LSU, you're gonna give up 50 to Bama. If you can only score 16 on LSU, I feel like Alabama's got a pretty good chance to hold you down. So while I think Leach and Will Rogers they're better this year than they have been, I don't think they're good enough to go to Tuscaloosa. I'm taking Bama. Roll Tide, baby.
If there's any building anywhere in America that had more steam coming out of it than the one down there in Tuscaloosa, I'd love to see it. That week of practice down there must have been unreal. I'm going with the Tide. They definitely they will not have a sleeper. We spoke about this one, but Dagan didn't get a chip in on this. Whiteout this weekend in Penn State. Dagan, Minnesota comes to town. Do they have a shot to take it?
I think Hack said it best. Two teams down bad. Penn State let up a lot of rushing yards last week. Minnesota has a nice running back, Mo Ibrahim. Good, solid back in the backfield. But I've seen Penn State on a whiteout. No way I'm picking against Nittany Lions in a game like that.
Oh, I thought he was leaning there.
Give me Penn State.
He lead course-owed you. He
surely did. He roped me out. Hack.
Yeah, I'm going with my boys. Got me last week. Down bad. They need this week.
Clint.
Penn State.
All day. Going back to the SEC, Jurassic Park. Haven't talked a lot about Jurassic Park tonight outside of Hooker and the Roman Army. Texas A&M might be the most mysterious program in college football. Will take its band down to South Carolina. Dagan, are you rolling Aggies or Gamecocks?
You know the slate's got to be rough. We're picking between a Haynes King led team and a Spencer Rattler led team this season. So, but I'm going with Haynes King in this one. Give me the Aggies.
Oh my, Hack.
I'm with him.
Welcome.
I think the roster at Texas A&M bodes well in their favor, and I think if they just go out there and play to their potential, and the coaches don't fuck it up, for lack of a better term, just put the guys in good positions to be successful. I think they're a better team than South Carolina. They're going to get it done.
Well, bad thing is they fucked up a few this year. So look, I'm gonna switch this thing up. I'm going South Carolina. Yeah, look, I just think where A&M has a problem is when they got an offense that has the potential to score. I'm not saying it has to be a damn juggernaut, but has the potential to stay aggressive and strike. I think they're going to have a hard time. A&M's offense could potentially have a hard time keeping up with South Carolina. I'm gonna ride South Carolina in their let's see, let's get their breakout game. I think they put up some points and A&M can't keep up.
I am going A&M, and solely because the last time we saw the Aggies travel east was against the Roman Army in Tuscaloosa, and it came down to the last play of the game on the 5 going in. So either play call or execution or whatever it was, they went 12 rounds. Now, granted, Alabama didn't have the Heisman Trophy winner on the field, but they got 80 other 5-stars out there, and they're still led by the same commander. So I liked what I saw out of A&M and how it all came together. They go to South Carolina, in my opinion, get the knockout. We got 2 more. UCF at East Carolina, the Fighting Gus Malzahns. Dagan, where are you going?
Man, what a game to be picking. I know our guy Michael Felder, big ECU guy, big fan of ECU, but I'm rolling with the Knights. Gus Malzahn, give me UCF.
Hack.
Just kind of went with my gut. UCF here.
And Clint.
Well, I mean, I just want to reiterate that I absolutely like my South Carolina pick against A&M. If I'm being completely honest at this point, I absolutely love it. I see Hack over there wishing he could change his pick. I'll take. I like my South Carolina pick. I like Central Florida, man. I think I'm a big Gus Malzahn fan. I know him personally, and for that reason and that reason only, I want to see UFC win this ball game. So I'm going with UCF.
You must know Shane Beamer personally as well.
He must. They must go.
No, I do not. But I know they're averaging 33 points a ball game, and A&M can't sniff 33 points.
So I would like to, before I get to this UCF game, I would also like to reiterate my prior pick. The Texas A&M Aggies showed a lot. Again, I just want to say that. Played Alabama down to the 5-yard line. Last play of the game, ball in your possession, your control. That's a play call or a simple execution. And the shock of the season would have happened a week before the next shock of the season. So I stand by the Aggies.
I don't think the Vols win was a shock of the season, though.
I also agree with that. The way they've been playing, in fact, it looked more and more like a bear trap.
My question is, how the hell did we get here from UCF ECU?
It's okay.
I'll just simply
spiderweb. We spiderweb.
How the hell did we get here?
Yeah, just simply giving Clint just a little bit more reinforcement. I'm gonna go with UCF. Last one, K-State at TCU. Dagan, big
George,
win.
I'm gonna big time here. I'm not going first. Pass it to somebody else.
Okay, we'll go Hack first. He says the Horns. Clint.
Horned Frogs, baby. Horned Frogs. Let's ride.
I also go the Horned Frogs, and we'll let Dagan go last. Dagan,
and this is exactly why I wanted you guys to go first. Give me Kansas State.
You got him
in Fort Worth. Adrian Martinez,
so
difference maker, big time backfield out there, and I guess they're not in Manhattan, but you know what I mean. For this game, but give me Kansas State. I picked against them early in the year. I'm not doing it again.
Honestly, if Utah's the biker gang, and Alabama's the Roman Army, TCU might be the militia, and I got to keep thinking about that. They seem to like bind together and go get folks, and they come back. They kind of bound together, go get folks, and they come back. They're
kind of like the Germanic dudes in the opener from what's the Gladiator? You know what I'm saying? Like
just like
they
come out of the woods.
They know that the Roman army's coming, but they just come out of the woods, put up a good
come
fight.
out of the woods.
Sometimes get got, but sometimes get theirs.
Correct. Throw the head back.
Yep.
Throw the head back at you. But they haven't met a Maximus yet. They went in, spoiled what Kansas had going. They've been spoiling. And after a while, it just becomes who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It just becomes who you are. TCU, that program must have so much confidence. Max Duggan, Coach Dykes, like it's hard to describe how much confidence must be inside that building. I'm gonna roll TCU all day, every day there.
Hey, real quick, G, just in case anybody's out there wondering, them damn Stros.
I was gonna ask you for an update before we got off here, Clint. So
they got shelled.
Hey, them boys up 3-2. Hey, them boys won today 3-2. They're up 2-0 on them damn Yankees. Finna send their ass home one more time, boy. Ooh,
man,
damn.
You know, George. No, not many people know this, but me and you have a little rivalry going on right now.
Dagan and I do have a rivalry.
I almost had us pick the series tonight in our picks, so maybe we'll save it for the World Series.
That's fine. A lot of baseball connections. Dagan and his Phillies, Clint and his Cheaters, and me with the Padres.
Keep banging, boys. Keep banging.
All right, let's get out of here.
So, thank you again for joining us, my man Desmond Howard. And yeah, we tried to squeeze a little extra juice out of him, but the Heisman Trophy winner and our guy Desmond joining us from College Game Day. On behalf of Clint Stoerner, Christian Hackenberg, and our producer Dagan Hughes, George Whitfield, we'll see you Saturday. We're out.